What's up, everybody? Welcome to BioS3 Raw TV. Well, tonight we're going to talk about something that it's been becoming a problem. Okay, this is going to be not a fitness video, so you guys know this is definitely going outside of fitness. However, health, it does have to do with, and physical and mental health both. Now, we've had the opiate crisis. You guys know that I was involved in that stuff when I was younger, and when I was younger, it wasn't as widespread as it is now. Now it's huge. It's like almost like every state, every town, you know, they have some sort of issue with the opiates, whether it's painkillers, whether it's, the heroin, opiate stuff like that, whatever. You know, even codeine. I've seen people getting fucked up on codeine, which is still an opiate. Tramadol, Ultram, all of the opiates. Everybody's getting fucked up on all of them. Excuse me. And lately, I just saw this thing today. Well, first of all, let me kind of back up for a second. So, about 6 months ago, I saw a article about the drug called gabapentin. Now, gabapentin is something my father was on when he was diabetic, for diabetic nerve pain. And my bulldog, Bruno, was actually on it towards the end of his life because he actually had cancer. And they were giving him tramadol and gabapentin. And to get the gabapentin, I actually had to go to CVS. And it was like, the prescription was written to Bruno Ward, which was my dog. And it was funny because they were like, how old is Bruno? And I said, well, he's, I think he's 11. And they were like, you're giving this to an 11-year-old kid? I said, no, Bruno's my dog. And they just kind of looked at me and said, this is from the vet. They're looking at the script going, yeah, it's from a vet. Okay, whatever. I said, they don't have an animal version, so they gave me the human version. He's supposed to take this. And I bought it. And I never understood what gabapentin really was for. I never took it personally. It wasn't like a street drug. It wasn't a party drug. It was something that was definitely had its purpose and uses within the medical community. And other than my father using it and my dog using it, I didn't really know much about it. And there was no need for me to really pay attention to it. Now, the article that I read about 6 months ago said that gabapentin is the new problem. And I was like, it said, gabapentin, new opiate crisis. And I was like, what the fuck? I didn't know it was an opiate. So I looked into it, and all I found was doctors were prescribing off-label use gabapentin instead of opiates. What they were trying to do is kind of curtail the opiate addiction. They were getting in trouble for prescribing so many opiates. So they're like, we'll prescribe this painkiller for nerve pain instead of the opiates, and people can use this, and it's not as addictive. It's not addictive. That's what they kept saying. It's not addictive. Well, what happened was over the course of like 6 months to a year, people were trying to renew their scripts early, like 2 to 3 weeks early before they were running out. And the doctors, the pharmacists were like, well, you can't, renew this until your prescription is up. And they were freaking out because they were going through withdrawals and shit. They're now addicted to gabapentin. It created a new crisis. Trying to curtail the opiates started a new crisis with gabapentin. And I was like, you gotta be shitting me. I'm like, pretty much, the doctors, how much do they really know about this shit? Right? Because my doctor gave me Ultram and told me that it was not addictive. It's a fucking opiate. My doctor also gave me something called Vioxx, which just causes fucking heart valve problems. I was on that for my shoulder. Excuse me. He also gave me Vicodins fucking galore. And they also gave me something called Modafinil or Provigil, which is a swing shift drug. I was having problems with insomnia, and they would give you this drug, so I would be up all night, and I wouldn't be able to sleep. And I'd get up, I would get out of bed, and I'd fall asleep at like 2 in the afternoon for like 45 minutes, and then I'd be up all night. So the idea was to take this Modafinil or Provigil, and it would keep you up all day long, and then finally when it wore off, you would crash at night. It forces your body to reset its internal clock, is what they said. Well, I took one of these pills, and I was like driving, and I was like, my eyes are bugging. I was like grinding my teeth, my knuckles were white. I was shaking, fucking driving. I'm sweating. And I was like, hey, doc, I said, I can't take this shit. It's too much of a stimulant. He goes, oh, it's not a stimulant. You shouldn't feel any stimulation from it at all. I'm like, what? And he was giving it to me as samples. I didn't even have to pay for it. He had little single-serving sample things. He gave me 7 of them. I was supposed to take it for 7 days. I found out now that shit is not only a stimulant, an extreme stimulant, they call it the limitless drug, but it's extremely addictive and has a really bad withdrawal that comes from it also. Like, once you get on it, you can't get off it. Like Adderall, you're so used to having it, doing so much stuff and being so aware and alert and awake that you can't function without it. So doctors, like, how much do they really know about this shit? Not much. So this new study, a new article came out December 2nd, gabapentin linked to growing number of suicide attempts. So now not only is it addictive and you go through withdrawals, people are actually trying to and actually committing suicide because of gabapentin. Listen to this, right? It turns out gabapentin is also involved in a growing number of attempted suicides. In a large number in the study published in the Journal of Clinical Toxicology, University of Pittsburgh researchers looked over 90,000 calls involving medications to the U.S. poison control centers. They found calls about gabapentin and the muscle relaxant baclofen, which I don't know what that is, increased significantly as the opioid prescriptions began declining, which is what I just said, right? Gabapentin and baclofen are two medications that have been increased availability to patients as alternatives to opioids for the treatment of acute and chronic pain. With greater accessibility, poison center exposures have demonstrated a marked increase in toxicity. Poison center data does not represent the totality of cases in the United States. The steep upward trends in reported exposures reflect a much larger problem than the raw numbers would suggest. 2013 to 2017, between that time, calls involving the abuse and misuse of gabapentin went up nearly 120%, while reports of baclofen being abused or misused rose nearly 32% from 2014 to 2017. Even more concerning is that the calls about attempted suicides involving gabapentin rose 80%, while calls of attempted suicides with baclofen increased 43%. Co-ingestion of sedatives and opioids were common for both medications, which means it didn't stop people from taking the opioids. They put them together with the opioids, because if you're popping opioids and they're not hitting you and making you high anymore, and you just need them to be well, right? Just to be normal. Well, now you can add the gabapentin to it, pop the gabapentin and the fucking opiate together, and it whacks you out of your fucking skull, right? 19 deaths involving gabapentin were identified as possible suicides during the 5-year study, which is not a lot, but 19 deaths is 19 deaths. There were thousands of gabapentin-related calls each year coded as attempted suicides, over 10,000 calls in 2017 alone. Now, it said, would it be anticipated that patients who are prescribed gabapentin and or baclofen would be more likely to be treated for mood disorders and pain, as well as constant chondroid and therapy overlap significantly? Gabapentin has specifically been recognized for its misuse and diversion potential, synergistic effect with opioid use, and contribution to the disorders. Baclofen misuse has not been frequently described, but anecdotally observed and associated with severe toxicity. You can have physical dependence and complicated withdrawals. Gabapentin was the 10th most widely prescribed drug in the U.S. in 2017. Think about how many fucking prescriptions are written and how many drugs are prescribed to people, right? It was the 10th most widely prescribed. Now, many diabetics in this country, right? Type 2 diabetics, type 1 diabetics. Type 2 diabetes didn't exist when I was a kid. Now it's huge. Like, everybody in their family has like 2 or 3 people that are type 2 adult onset diabetics that we didn't have when I was kids. And they prescribed gabapentin for that, for nerve pain due to that. But, I mean, this is crazy. The FDA sent out a warning saying all the patients that are being treated with gabapentin or 10 other anaphylactic drugs should be anaphylactic, not anaphylactic. Anaphylactic. I'm dyslexic, guy. Give me a fucking break. Should be informed about the risks of suicide thoughts and actions. The FDA reviewed 199 clinical trials of the drugs and found that the patients who received them had almost twice the amount of risk of suicidal behavior than patients on a placebo. That means there would be 1 additional case of suicide thinking or behavior for every 530 patients treated with this anti-epileptic drug. Anti-epileptic. I gotta sound it out like I'm back in first grade again, right? All patients who are currently taking or starting any anti-epileptic drug for any indication should be monitored for notable changes in behavior that could indicate the emergency or worsening suicidal thoughts or behavior or depression. So it can cause suicidal thoughts and depression. Now, we're in a state of emergency in general in America. I mean, that's all there is to it. The amount of drugs that are prescribed, it's like, oh, I have this problem. Here, take this drug. Well, this drug causes this side effect. Well, here, take this drug to counteract that drug. Well, I'm taking these 2 drugs, like Wellbutrin and this one. Well, here's a cocktail. They start fucking adjusting the dosages up and down to see if they get it right. Like, they're not even sure how the fucking things work. They go, well, this one's for this one's for this. We'll start you on this and this. And then, like, I remember my ex-girlfriend was on Prozac. She was actually bipolar. Not Carrie, by the way. You guys are, no, not Carrie, but there was a drug they started on called Prozac. Everybody knows about Prozac, right? Within days, she was talking about suicide all the time. And the doctor told me while I was there, he said, if she starts talking about suicide, call me right away. I called him, he said, take her off it right away. Took her off it immediately. Drove her right to the hospital. They put her on something called Abilify was the one they put her on. And that actually worked. So the doctor was kind of like, yeah, we got all these tools at our dispense. Let's just fucking throw this at her. Try this. Give this a shot and see what fucking if this works. That doesn't work? You want to kill yourself? Okay, try this. Like, it was like almost like they were just throwing fucking darts at a dartboard, trying to pick which fucking drug they were going to give her to see what works. Like, they honestly didn't know how to fucking treat her. And that's when I really started looking at things going, you guys don't know what the fuck you're doing, do you? Like, they gave her the Abilify and her blood pressure would drop so fast that she would stand up. Like, there was one night, our house was dry, she got a bloody nose. She sat up in bed real quick because she went, and then she goes, what the hell? She sat up. She goes, fuck. She stands up, goes in the bathroom, and I hear boom. I walk in there, she's fucking laying in the tub sideways. I'm like, what the fuck? She's fucking out. I mean, unconscious as fuck. She looked dead. She wasn't even breathing. So I'm like, her face is turning pale, right? She looks dead. So I'm like, I don't know what to do with her. I'm like, fuck. So I laid her on the floor, and I'm like trying to talk to her. I'm trying to wake her up. I'm like, I don't know if I should do CPR. I don't know what to fucking do. And I was like, fuck, I gotta get to my phone to call 911. I'm like, I can't leave my phone. I mean, if she's dead, I'm like, what the fuck do I do, right? So eventually I said, fuck it. I just grabbed my phone. I ran back, and I kept talking to her. I had her by the face. I kept moving her face like this. And because I had laid her down, her blood pressure came back up, and her face turned beet red, and she would and breathed like that and pissed herself. And it was like, what the fuck? Abilify did that to her. So we fucking took her right to the ER, right? They did a whole workup, nothing wrong with her. And we're like, she was fucking dead on the floor. What do you mean? Nothing wrong with her. Happened one more time when I brought the dogs in for being outside, Bruno and Nico. She stood up really quick. She was sleeping on the floor. Like, we were fucking chilling out, watching TV. She had fallen asleep. She sat up really quick because the dogs had come in. Boom, fell out again. And I was like, what the fuck? And then I realized, I'm like, wait, this is twice it's happened. It's only happened since the Abilify. So then I went online. I looked up the fucking, the insert. She had thrown the insert out, and it said that it could cause drop in blood pressure, which would make you pass out. My thought was, if she's driving and passes out, she's going to crash the car and kill herself or someone else, right? But the doctors had no fucking clue. They didn't tell us that whatsoever. We figured it out on our own. We went to the ER, and they did a whole fucking workup on her. We even gave them the medication. She's taking all this. They didn't even know at the ER what the fuck was going on. We figured it out by reading the insert and then Googling stuff about the insert, and found people in forums talking about the same thing that had happened to them. So without that shit, we would have fucking, I thought she was dead. So we have, the doctors, we put them on high pedestals, like fucking, they know exactly what the fuck they're doing all the time. That's not necessarily true. All right, a lot of times they're just fucking shooting in the fucking dark, or hoping to fucking, just throwing some shit at the fucking wall and hoping whatever sticks. But be aware, guys, this shit gets out of control, and it's continuing to get out of control. But if you do your due diligence and really pay attention and look into this shit before, you start seeing these studies and these alerts and shit, it'll help maybe save the loved one or maybe yourself if you're using them. So be aware, guys. It's better to be woke than be asleep. BossTreeTraining@gmail.com. Leave comments down below, but don't fight. BossTreeTraining.com is a blog. It's the Be Woke Bicep, and we are out.